Recording? All right. Welcome back, and now we are moving into volume 6 of the Randy Young Extravaganza for the guitar, as we now move into an area that most of you guys are probably going to want to watch again and again, because this will get a little confusing for you. We're going to move beyond open chords, which, if you remember back in lesson 1, we talked about the open chords being chords that had open strings that you didn't have fingers on, that still were part of the chord, right? Well, now we're going to move, now that you kind of got yourself to a point where most of the open chords are within your grasp, the next step is bar chords. And bar chords are just an extension of your open chords. And I'll explain that in a moment. The beauty of bar chords is, instead of being limited to the bottom 3 frets of your guitar neck, now all of a sudden this whole thing comes into play, and you can do different chords just by changing the position that you're at on the guitar, but you don't really change your fingering that much. And here's what I want you to focus on. E major, which is the chord that we did back a couple lessons ago. E minor, A major, which is your 3 in a row, and then A minor. Okay, those are the 4 chords that I want you to kind of have in the forefront of your brain as we move into this, because that's where you're going to really focus your efforts, on those 4 chords: E major, E minor, A major, and A minor. Now here's the deal. Here's where this gets a little complicated. For a bar chord to work, you've got to bar across all of the strings with your index finger. In fact, that's why they're called bar chords. It has nothing to do with going someplace where you're going to get a drink. No, it's a shock. It's basically you're replacing the nut with your finger. Okay, and the nut down here, of course, is what kind of signifies the end of the guitar. Well, with a bar chord, you're changing where the strings end. By pressing the strings down across 1 fret. And then you do a chord on top of that bar, and that's what determines what chord you're doing. Now, the first step to making bar chords work is to figure out how to get that bar to work. And Nick, if you'll come over this way, I'm going to try to get you to give me a close-up of this, because here's the deal. We're gonna take, it's almost like your finger, your index finger is and your thumb are working together to put a vice on the neck of the guitar. Now notice what I was doing there. I'm using those 2 fingers in conjunction with each other, and to begin with, you can do that. That's okay. The first step is to get each one of these frets all the way up to about the 10th fret to bar, so that you hear each string clearly. Now, strangely enough, the first fret is the hardest one to get to work. So I encourage you, don't start down here. You want to start on the 2nd fret. Start on the 2nd fret and then move up each one. Now notice what I'm doing too. My finger is going just behind the fret, not down here at what I call the bottom of the fret. We're going just behind the fret. That's where you're going to get the best tone. If you go too far down in the fret, it muddies it up. You hear that? And I'm pressing it, same pressure that I was a moment ago. Slide it up just a little bit, and now they come through clear. You can stop there. That's kind of the object here. Is the first step of the bar chords is to get your thumb and your first finger working together like a vice to squeeze those fingers down. And you're not going to use the very flattest part of your index finger. You're going to use kind of the edge, the outside edge of that first finger to help. Actually, believe it or not, the joints in your finger help with the pressure on the strings. There's just a little bit of a bump there where your bones join together, And those can help as far as the pressure on the strings is concerned. Now, I will warn you, you will get sore doing this. It's just like whenever you first started doing all the open chords and you'd play for about 30 minutes and you go, doggone, I'm feeling that. Well, yeah, you're going to. You're using a part of your index finger that has never been used for anything. I mean, this is fresh meat. Never been used, never been cooked. Well, now you're going to start cooking it. You're going to start seasoning it. And it will take some time. Just understand, though, when it starts getting to the point where you're going, doggone, that's sore, then stop. Then just stop. Go back to playing your open chords and practice as much as you want, because you got to learn those anyway, okay? But the first step in getting bar chords to work is to get those strings coming through clearly. And the best way to do that is kind of like what we did with the open chords. When you're holding them down, hit them one string at a time. And if you notice a couple of doinks in there, then you're not pressing them down evenly. And you got to figure out, and again, everybody's going to be different. You got to figure out what you got to do to get those to hold down and come through clearly. All right, and everybody's going to be different. I wish I had some magic words of wisdom, some sage, incantation I could give you that would make that work automatically. No, it won't work that way, unfortunately. You're just going to have to figure out how to make it work for you. All right, so let's say that you've got that to work. You're getting the strings to come through clearly. All right. How do you know what chord you're playing? It's a good question. Here's where these little dots come into play and become extremely important. Those are called position markers. And believe it or not, they are there to mark your position on the guitar neck. Shocking. Hence the term position markers. And each one of them on the neck represents a group of individual notes. All right. Now, we're not going to worry about all of the strings right now and all the notes for each of the strings. But what we are going to worry about are the notes along the E string, the low E string, and the A string. Because your bar chords are going to be based on the notes on those position markers on your E string and your A string. All right. The individual notes, E, which is, there's an E note and there's A. As you move up the neck using those position markers, that's going to determine what chord you are playing when you bar across and do a chord on top of it. Remember I said you want to remember your E major, your E minor, your A major, and your A minor, okay? Those four chords will allow you to do any major or minor chord up and down the entire neck. All you have to do is find the right spot on the neck, determined by the individual notes, bar across, then chord on top of it. Here's an example. The third dot, the third position marker, that is a B note. On the E string, now hold that down, that's a B note. Okay? Let's say I want to do a B minor chord. Sounds complicated. That's not an open chord. And it's not. The only way to do it is with a bar chord. Okay. If you know how to do an E minor chord, remember an E minor is just those two notes on your A string and your D string. Okay? If you remember E minor, what we're going to do is we're going to bar across where the B note is on the E string, and we're going to do an E minor on top of it. That's a B minor. That's a B minor. Okay? If I go down one fret, that's a B flat minor, which sounds very complicated. If I were to say, well, I'd like for you to play a B flat minor, most guitar players who aren't real confident with bar chords are going to go, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. If you know where B is, which is that third note, if you're looking for B flat, it's going to be below B. There's B flat. If you go down one more, that's A. If I go down one more, that's A flat. If I go to one more, G flat, or F sharp, F, and then you're back to E. Just remember this, if when you're learning the musical alphabet here, you can't E sharp and you can't B sharp. If you can remember that, then you can figure this out. You can't E sharp. Once you go one fret up from E, that's F. If you go one fret up from B, that's C. Can't E sharp, can't B sharp. But other than that, everything's in play. So, all right, let's think of it this way. If that's a B, okay, and if I bar across and do an E minor on top of where that B note is, and I'm doing B minor, if I go up one, which means sharp, if I go sharp one more note, I can't B sharp, that would be a C minor. Okay, well if I go up one more, that's C sharp or D flat, that's a C sharp minor, which again sounds really complicated, but it's not. As long as you know where the C sharp note is, which is that fourth position marker, that's C sharp, bar across, E minor chord on top of it, C sharp minor. That's how it works. If I need to do a C sharp chord, C sharp major, again I find the C sharp note, bar across, and then I'm going to do an E major chord with these three fingers. That is C sharp major. That's how it works. Here's your position markers. The first dot, which is normally on the third fret, is G. If I go up to the second one, that's A. Remember the third one, we already talked about that one, that's B. C sharp, and then the next one, which is the double dots, the 12th fret, you're back to E. It starts over. Okay? So G, A, B, C sharp, or D flat, E.
Gabkada.
Gabkada. Gab, G-A-B, C sharp, D flat, kada. Gabkada. But using those, you can do any major or minor chord. All right, if I know that G is on that third fret, and if I go down a fret, that's flat, G flat or F sharp. If I need to do an F sharp minor, which is a chord that's used quite a bit, find that note, bar across, E minor chord on top of it, there's F sharp minor. Sounds really complicated. It's really not. The hard part here is learning those notes. I mean, honestly, you got 4 notes to learn. G, A, B, C sharp, D flat. Gabkada. Duh. Thank you. But once you learn those, then all of your fingerings based around E, E minor 7th. I mean, if you need to do an F sharp minor 7th, ooh, find the F sharp note. Remember, do you remember E minor 7th, which is like one finger? One finger. They're on the B, A string. That's an E minor 7th. If I find the F sharp note, bar across, do an E minor 7th, that is an F sharp minor 7th. Ooh. Sounds complicated, but it's not. It's just a matter of finding the right note, barring across, and then doing the minor 7th chord on top of it. That's bar chords. Now, to add to the mix, to make things even more confusing, which again, if you need to, you can just stop right there and work on the E string by itself until you get confident. But if you want to, I'll give you a little sampling of what the next step is, which is to use the A string as the root of your bar chords. Okay? Just like we use the E string and E chord fingerings on top of it, right? Like again, B note here, bar across, E minor, that's a B minor. You can do the same thing with the A string, except all of the chords are based around A chords, like A major, the 3 in a row chord, and then A minor. All right, now here's your notes. On the first position marker, C, well, if you know unless you're alphabet challenged, C, D, E, F sharp, G flat, and then you're back to A.
Cadefa. Cadefa.
Something like that. It's basically your alphabet. If you need to do a C minor chord, C minor, okay? If I know that first position marker on the A string, that note, that's a C, I bar across and do an A minor chord, That is a C minor chord. If I go up to the next position marker, which is a D note, and do a minor, that is a D minor. There's E minor, F sharp minor, and then again the 12th fret, you start back over at A. That's it. I mean, that's it. If you needed to do let's say an F sharp minor 7th, like we did down here, the F sharp note, remember, on the E string, and then we did an E minor 7th. Okay, well, wait a minute. If we're doing F sharp minor 7th, didn't you say, Mr. Young, that last position, or that 4th position marker, that was a G flat or F sharp, right? The same notes? Yeah, they are. So I could bar across there, but now I'm using the A string as my root, so I got to do A chords. A minor 7th is like an A minor with a hole in the middle of it. Very simple. You don't do all three, you take your third finger out. So I'm going to bar across at the F sharp note and then do an A minor 7th on top of it. That is an F sharp minor 7th. Same chord as this, just in a different position on the neck. Sounded like the Doobie Brothers. Actually, that's the beginning of that song, Long Train Running. You can look it up. But anyway, that's bar chords. And I know right now you're probably going, what? Just remember this. If you can do the E chord, and you can do the E minor, and you can do A major and A minor, all you got to do is find the right note, depending on which string you're going to root the chord in. If you're rooting the chord on the E string notes, then all your fingering is going to be based on E chords. If you're using the A string as the root of your chords, then all the chordings are going to be based around A chords, A major and A minor. You find the note, bar across, put your fingering on top of it, and you got the chord. Let's say that we want to do a B flat major chord. B flat major. All right? Remember? Gab, G, A, B. Well, there's B. Well, to go flat, I got to go down a fret. There's B flat. Could be A sharp too. They're interchangeable. So if I want to do a B flat major chord, I'm going to bar across there on that B flat note. Just do an E chord on top of it. That is B flat. But I could also do it down here on the A string. If that's C on that first position marker, down one fret would be B, down one fret would be B flat. Same note. 6th fret on the E string, 1st fret on the A string. Same note. But if I'm going to use the A string, I have to do an A chord on top of it. There's B flat. Same chord. You just find the right spot, depending on which string you're going to use. Root the chord on the E string, your chords are going to be like E major, E minor. If you're using the A string as the starting point, all your chords are going to be like A major, A minor, and so forth. That's bar chords. That's the whole thing. And now you've got any major or minor chord, or hypothetically minor 7th chord or 7th chord. It's just a matter of finding the right spot on the neck, barring across, and doing the right chord on top of it. And that's it. No magic formula. Pretty simple, actually. Step 1, getting the strings to come through clearly. Step 2, learn those notes. Gab, kada, G, A, B, C sharp, D flat. And then kadef, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, kadef. Learn those and then start practicing away and you'll figure it out. I mean, honestly, that's the best way to do it. If you got any questions, shoot me an email, but I think it should be pretty self-explanatory. But go back through this. Start back at the beginning if you need to. Watch it again. Watch it as many times as you want. Stop it where you need to, and then pick it up and take it and run. Now the cool part here about your bar chords is bar chords literally become the beginning points of lead parts. You can use the notes out of a bar chord to start and end a lead part very easily. We'll do that later on. Lead goes into a totally different stratosphere because now all of a sudden you're using every note up and down the neck. Okay? The bar chords are the first step, the first big step out of the baby pool into the deep end to start moving toward your lead stuff. Okay? Good luck. Live long and prosper.